My name is Erica Marie Morris, and you are listening to the Candle Business Podcast, where we talk all things about starting, running, and growing a successful candle business. From marketing to mental health, I cover a wide range of real-life topics that involve the crazy and wonderful ups and downs that is being a small business owner. Hello, welcome back to another podcast episode. Thank you so much for being here with me today, hanging out, watching some candle making footage. I think I really like this style, and I think a lot of you really like this style as well. It not only helps me because I don't have to actually, put myself together to be on camera, but instead of staring at my face, you get to watch some awesome candle making footage via Chris doing his awesome job that he has been doing with making all the candles. But before I get into today's podcast episode, just because I do always have new listeners to the podcast and viewers of my channel, and I would bet that anybody that is watching today's video is either interested in getting started with a candle business, or maybe you're close to launching a candle business, or maybe you're just getting into candle making and thinking about a potential business. But wherever you fall with that, I do actually have a free download for you. It is a candle business launch checklist. I've had thousands of you download this, and I've gotten really good feedback on it. It's very straightforward with just some things that you need to be considering when you are going through the launching process. So go to ericamarieMorris.com/checklist, and that is going to allow you to get the download of the checklist direct to your email. It also does join the email list as well. I send out maybe 1 or 2 emails a month. It's not a lot, maybe a bonus one here and there, but it's just helpful tips. It's just to connect more one-on-one with you, and I've really, really enjoyed doing that. So make sure you go to that if you're on YouTube. I will also have it down in the description box below. But let's go ahead and get into today's topic, which is 3 things that will ruin your candle business. Let's talk about things that are no-nos, things that you don't want to do, and talk about what you should be doing instead, or just kind of pinpointing, the things that I personally think would be the most detrimental things for you to do with your candle business that is not going to lead to success. We talked all about success on a previous podcast episode, so this is going to be the top 3 things that I think are the most important things for you to be successful and to not, have a crumbling business, if you will. So the top 3 things that I can think of when it comes to what would ruin your candle business. The first one is poor customer service. I think more than anything, customer service is so important and something that gets overlooked a lot with small businesses, and we will dive into that topic in just a moment. The second one is a low profit margin. You want to make sure that you are making enough money in your business, or else you're not going to meet your goals and be whatever definition of success is for you, but definitely maybe not financially, and it will be much harder to scale. And then the third one is a big one. Obviously, all these I think are very important. But I think that if you have an inability to adjust and change in your business, would ruin your candle business. So let's dive into these 3 topics a little bit more in detail, starting with that customer service. And I've made a couple different videos on my YouTube channel before talking about customer service, because I do think that this is a very not talked enough about when it comes to starting a candle business. We think about, the cost of goods, the way that the candles look, candle labels, how to market, all that kind of stuff. But really the day-to-day, how you are interacting with your customers, how you are handling customer complaints, refunds, all that kind of stuff is going to be such a huge part of your business. And the only thing that I can think of when talking about this topic is that I want you to think back on a time where you received excellent customer service from a brand. And then I also want you to think back on a time where you received terrible customer service from a brand, or you just had a really bad experience. More than likely, you're probably thinking about at least one experience on both of those ends. And it probably stuck with you either in a positive way or a negative way. And, there's been many times where I have had really good experiences with the customer service at a certain brand or company, and I have talked very highly about them, and I will keep coming back. And I have had a good experience, and it really does something to the longevity and kind of the, what do you call it? The reputation of your business. I think the reputation of businesses, especially nowadays in the world of social media, in the world of, if anything happens, people are able to get online and talk very poorly about your company. And I know that this is kind of a slippery slope when it comes to giving good or excellent customer service, is that a lot of people are worried, and I've talked about this before, a lot of people are worried that, they're going to enable these terrible customers, and they're going to be taken advantage of by customers because they're never going to be happy, and we're just going to give them a ton of free stuff or a ton of money back, and then they're going to keep doing it over and over again. And the way that I go about that is that, like, the majority of the time, now we've been in business for almost 4 years. I'm so excited. At the very end of this month, on March 30th, it's going to be our 4-year anniversary of Memory Box Candle Co.'s launch. So that's really exciting. And in those 4 years, I have never had a customer take advantage of our refund policy. And we have a very lenient refund policy, where basically if people don't like it, if there's any issues, we'll refund them or we'll send them a new product. There's no questions asked. And Chris is definitely on board with that. And I'm very happy to hear that, because we have the same values and everything when it comes to customer service. And I think that, responding to customers in a timely manner, getting a contact email that's going to get your attention more than any other email, like your basic Gmail. We have an actual email that's connected for like our website. So it's erica@memoryboxcandleco.com. So that's for customer service. That's for people to be able to reach out. And I'm able to see that in a separate email that's a lot more kind of in my face than it is with all the emails that I get flooded with our regular Gmail account. So taking little steps like that is going to ensure that you are going to be giving the best customer service that you possibly can. Because again, it really is a matter of the reputation of your business. And, I know there may be certain instances where you just can't make customers happy. And with that, you just be as polite and professional as possible. The key here is basically firm, polite, professional. All three of those things need to be kind of combined together. You don't want to get too, heated. You don't want to, start going off on customers or anything like that. Remember that when you're in business, you're representing your business. You have to be professional, and you have to, word things in a way to where it is still staying professional, but you're getting your point across. And that, I think, comes with time and a little bit of practice when you're, responding to certain customers. But we go based off of, yes, in a way, the customer is always right. I think that is kind of a very broad way to look at it. And of course, there's situations that may come up that you're like, no, they're not right. They're wrong. Like it matters, I think, more that the majority, 99.9% of customers, I want them walking away from our business with a positive experience, whether or not they had issues with their candle, doesn't matter whose fault it is. I want them walking away knowing that they had a good experience. And we also will reward, our customers that have been purchasing from us over and over again. We'll sometimes add in extra free samples or maybe an extra candle just to say thank you. I am planning on making another episode talking about how to get repeat customers, because I think this does play into the customer service aspect, but it also plays into the sales aspect. So I think that the better your customer service is, the more likelihood you are to get repeat customers. Therefore, it will snowball effect into more sales. And speaking of sales, let's go ahead and dive into the next point, and that is a low profit margin. So remember, the topic is things that will ruin your candle business. Candle businesses have a good we can get a pretty good profit margin on our products. We can mark up a decent amount on our products because if we are working on the overall look of our candles and the perceived value, and that our potential customers look at our products and they're like, yeah, that is going to be worth that price. We're targeting a specific market that is going to pay a little bit more for our handmade home decor candles that are going to, look great in their bathroom with their decor or their living room. They love the fragrance, it burns well, and it's just an overall positive experience for them. So we have that room to be able to have a pretty good profit margin. So this is a huge, huge part about business that is very difficult from the very beginning when you're getting started, because it's challenging putting a price point on something that you make, something that you do, the service industry, getting started with that. I know that's difficult. When you make something, it's hard to put a price point on it, and it's hard to ask something that you think, oh, people are going to think this is expensive. What if people tell me it's too expensive? And it kind of starts to make you feel like, should I even be charging this much? Like, people are going to pay this much? This is weird, like, I don't know if I should be charging this much. So that is going to take some time. But what I don't want you to do is completely undercut yourself, your value, your talent, your skill, your labor, all of that goes into it, just to, be able to sell candles. Because remember, you're building a brand. It's not necessarily just about, I just want to sell these candles. Like, there's a whole brand building awareness that comes with starting a business, starting a company, around, handmade items, as you're building a brand around that. So it's not just, at least in my opinion, I don't think it's just willy-nilly whoever will purchase it for however much. I'm just trying to sell as many candles. And I understand some people's mentality may be like that, but I think the majority of us are looking for more of, building brand awareness around our business. So I think that if you have a low profit margin, and by low profit margin, I would look at if you take your cost of goods, which is the amount that it costs you to make your item. So let's say it costs you $4 to make an 8-ounce candle. If you sell that 8-ounce candle for $8, I think that is a very low profit margin, because you're only making $4 per candle. And that is not giving you any wiggle room for really anything. It's not giving you can't do wholesale, because that is the wholesale price. You're essentially selling all of your candles at wholesale cost. And it doesn't give you any option to, do discounts or deals, or have like a loyalty program or anything like that, to where people are able to use, get money off of the price, because that's really should be like the lowest possible price that you sell your candles for, is cost of goods times 2, which is the wholesale price. Now, when it comes to pricing your candles, you want to make sure that you are giving yourself enough room to have a good markup, have a good profit margin. Typically, I would recommend about a 75% gross profit margin, and that can be achieved by doing a minimum of your cost of goods times 4. You can also add on to that 10 to 20% of that price on top of that. So it's going to look a lot more than just selling that candle for $8. So it would be probably between $16 to $20 that in this example you'd be selling that 8-ounce candle if it cost you $4 to make. So 4 times 4 is 16, and then adding on 10 to 20%. I'm not doing the math currently in my head. It might be between $16 and $18, but somewhere around there. And again, there is a perceived value component that goes into it. Some people out there are able to sell their 8-ounce candle for like $60, $70, $80, $90, and that is because of brand awareness, and people will pay for that. Us in the candle community, we understand that I mean, there is only so much supplies, so many different kinds of wax, so many different special fragrances out there. So many different. I think they're called like, ooh, what are they called? Like the people who actually make the fragrance oils. I don't want to say perfumists. They're like, they like make the fragrance oils, and you can buy like a bunch of them, and they can kind of make different fragrance blends and stuff for you. I think AFI is one of them. I can't remember exactly what it's called, but there's only there's only so many of those that are out there. So we know that when companies are charging hundreds of dollars for candles, we know that there is a huge profit margin on those candles. There is a really, really big profit margin. And, I think that scaling a business, if it's something that you're wanting to do, if you're wanting to scale up your business, and that's basically just being able to be more efficient, make more money, and sell more products, and just kind of scale up your business, make more money throughout the year. It's going to be very challenging if you are only making a very small gross profit margin on your candles. You'd have to sell 2 or 3 times the amount of candles that another company would sell if they were making, a lot more than you are on each candle sale in terms of the gross profit margin. And that is, that can be very tiring and exhausting, and you may find that it's not worth it. It may be very challenging. You may feel like you're not even really making that much money, like all this work goes into it, and then you look and you're like, oh, I'm not even really making that much. It can be really disappointing when you're looking at everything, because you're wanting to do really well with your business, and especially if you have financial goals in your business, if you don't have the kind of profit margin that's going to get you there, it is going to inevitably be a harder hill to climb than if you were to price your candles adequately. Now, when it comes to the handmade business, this is just another reason, because there's time, there's labor, all that goes into it. So it's not the same as like a person that's purchasing already made candles from like overseas somewhere, and then they're just marking them up a certain amount and then just trying to sell them as much as they can. There's a difference there when it comes to the handmade aspect, because we have to include our time and labor into the cost of the item. And if you don't have that added into the cost of your products, then when it comes to scaling, you won't have the money to be able to pay for employees, and it just kind of snowballs from there. So obviously, I'm not telling everybody that they need to charge $100 for their candles, although some people out there are, and you guys are awesome. Some people are really going for the more luxury brand, which is awesome, but don't feel like you have to just charge the lowest amount possible in order to get sales. Just be a little bit more confident in your product, especially if it's a good product, if it looks professional, and if it looks like something that you'd find, on the shelf of a store. That's definitely the goal when it comes to the actual look of your candle, and know the target market, and know, the customer base on who you are trying to sell to. But it's really, really important to start at the basics of, understanding how much it costs you to make your candle, and then pricing adequately to make sure that you're making a good profit, so that you're able to actually stay in business, keep going, make the money in your business, and really use that money to invest back into your business and scale if that's something that you're wanting to do. And then the last point in today's podcast episode is the inability to adjust and change will be a downfall in your business if you're not able to do that. Now, I am not a natural born somebody that is like, yeah, I love change and I can adapt so easily. I am terrible. I would have the hardest time when starting a new job and trying to adapt and change. And I'd walk into work and I'd have that like sour feeling in my stomach, and I just hated the change. I hated having everything be different, and I didn't know anything, and it was very, very hard for me. And I think that has been a huge struggle for me as an entrepreneur, because with this business and with business in general, you have to be able to change, because the market is ever changing. The ways in which we're going to market, the ways in which the platforms are changing, everything is constantly going to be adapting and changing. And, which is why when I really do think that in the next decade, the future of marketing is going to be video. I think that video marketing is going to be something that you're going to click on a website and almost all the products are going to have a video to them. I think that obviously product photography and all that is still going to be very important, but I do think that video is going to be the future when it comes to marketing, and that's just something that I think people are either going to be able to adapt to or not be able to adapt to. Obviously there's TikTok and all these shorts and reels and all that kind of stuff that has started to change, and that already is kind of showing the video aspect, the quick video, just kind of capturing people's attention in the first 2 seconds of the video. There's all these things that are going to keep changing, and that's kind of what happens, over the years. I mean, the past couple decades, marketing has changed so dramatically. The way that people are able to run their businesses has changed dramatically. The more that people are getting started in businesses, or the more that towns are getting a little bit more, populated, with, being at vendor events. You may find that you are one of 7 other candle businesses at a vendor event. Sometimes you may find that you're the only one, or one of 2, or whatever it is. Like, there is always these little circumstances that are going to affect how you are going to do business differently, and how are you going to adjust and change. What are the things that you are going to implement that's going to be different from the people and businesses around you? And, this is, again, I will reiterate this, something that I definitely struggle with, something that is very difficult for me to, be able to adapt and change. Now, I feel like I do a pretty decent job, but sometimes I still do feel stuck in my ways of, doing things how I'm always used to doing them. And there is beauty in certain things that are very concrete, that have always worked, throughout the years. It's kind of one of those things where it's like, you kind of go with things that have always worked, with like investments and stuff like that. Like, people will do, like growth stock mutual funds, because that's something that has been proven over time to work, versus just doing crypto, which is kind of like a newer thing. Not that I'm a big investment person and know anything about that, but I know a tiny bit that, people will say go with what works instead of what's like the new thing. So it really just depends. There's so many different aspects with business that you may find that you're going to either, stick with the same kind of thing on one thing, and then maybe try to adapt and change with something else, maybe adding more video, maybe, trying out different platforms for, your retail shop or wholesale, or just different ways that you are just trying to incorporate it into your brand and into your business. Maybe different collections that are maybe, something's going on in the world, and you are curating a candle collection based on that, and that is kind of capitalizing on, a current event, basically. Hopefully it's a positive current event and not a negative current event. But you know what I mean? There's always different trends and things that are going on. So those are always going to be ever evolving and changing. And as a business owner, when we are looking to stay up to date with everything, we have to adjust and be able to change, and know that, it can be difficult. It can be hard for a lot of us to do that. But if you are in business and you are wanting to kind of stay relevant, if you will, which is always kind of a funny word, talking about relevancy and stuff like that. I mean, look at me right now. I've been doing a podcast because I know that with online and content and stuff like that, podcasting is huge right now. So I'm like, okay, I like talking in my videos, and if I can talk a little bit more and not have to feel like I have to get to the point every 2 seconds, because podcasts are just kind of, talking. So, that's kind of how I've started adjusting and changing. I'm starting to add more videos to, products and stuff like that. I'm kind of starting on Fair, and I know I've talked a lot about wanting to do products specifically on the retail website, which I know is a task to do. So that's not something that I just do, overnight or anything like that, but it's definitely something I know we need to do. But these are the 3 things that I believe that could ruin your candle business, and things that I think are very, very important to make sure that you have really good customer service, that you have a good profit margin, and that you have the ability to adjust and change based on the current economic circumstances, the current market, the trends, whatever's going on right now, to where you're still keeping on brand with you and who you are, but that you are able to adjust when needed so that you can keep your business going. Because that's all what we're trying to do, right? Is just keep our business going and enjoy, have fun, and, get through some hard times, get through, things that may be challenging, enjoy the really good times, and just kind of, do the best that we can, because we're all just winging it, right? We're all just winging it. Just what are we doing? Like, just, doing the best we can, learning as much as we can. We're so lucky to be living in an age where we have information just at the touch of our fingertips. My parents always like to reiterate that, on how lucky we are that we can just look things up whenever we want. It's true, though. It's really true. But I am going to end today's podcast episode right here. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today, and I will see you in the next episode.